So the final piece for this project looks something like this. I think you'll recognize some of the elements now. The microvilli in the background. We have two viruses here floating in this environment. Both are based on X-ray crystal structure data that I showed you how to obtain from the Protein Data Bank and how to quickly model in Molecular Maya. In this section of the movie, as I mentioned before, I thought it would be nice to pause the overall action and to focus on highlighting the different shells and protein components of the virus. So I start with that, and then going back to the ambient occlusion look that I showed you in Molecular Maya, we then take a few seconds to highlight the symmetry of the virus, which again is an icosahedron, meaning that it has five-fold, two-fold, and three-fold symmetry. So once we're done explaining the structure of the virus, the next part is bringing in chymotrypsin and showing that enzyme in the gut attacking the virus, basically, and shaving off that outer layer of protein. And that I thought would be effective to do at two different shots. So first to show the chymotrypsin in this particular shot start to approach the virus, and of course there are many such enzymes that are released in the intestine, and then to cut to a close-up that shows how these individual proteins are chewing away at the base of these yellow proteins on the virus and loosening them up, and eventually in the next shot all of the outer layer is released. What's critical here, and this is what we were talking about in terms of changing shape, notice if I pause the movie that this sigma 1, what used to be a flexible tentacle, is now a rigid rod of protein. And this is what can now serve as a receptor for a protein on the surface of your intestinal cells. And so the virus can now bind the cell receptors, and the cell is now poised to bring in the virus as if it were a piece of food. And once inside the cell, the virus can hijack the protein-making machinery and will release thousands, if not more, copies of itself into the intestine, and the infection continues.